Hi, we're back and we're talking with Rhett Hackett of Sicklerville, who's detailing his story of child sexual abuse. He recently appeared on the Oprah show with 200 other men who were victims of child sexual abuse. And let's pick up the story. So you become a little bit older, and you're still dealing with the effects of this, even though the relationship with him has broken
Correct.
off.
What I had done was I made a decision that I was just going to live the perfect life, put on a perfect image, because if you ever saw a flaw, you would really see what the reasons behind the flaw was. So I decided that I would move forward with, with work, my career, with school, start my life, and just not get involved with anybody. Whether it was with men, whether it was with women, nothing. Just remain sexually neutral, because at this point you are just completely confused and you just want to put it behind you and just kind of forget about it.
So you're doing fine in life, and then in 1996 you have a car accident.
Correct.
And that changes everything.
Yeah. By that time I was married. I had a girlfriend who eventually became my wife. She was the first person I had ever told. When we decided that we were going to go into this relationship together. And, we figured, well, we'll just, we'll get through this together. And in telling her, I figured, all right, well, I'm beyond this. And when you're in your 20s, you have your highest level of defense mechanisms. Nothing's going to bother you. We have the car accident, and let me just explain that it's not like I had forgotten about it. I always remembered. But right after the car accident, all of a sudden I kind of started to feel it again. And that took me back. And I just...
What are you talking about? Flashbacks?
It was more so... yes, there were flashbacks involved, but you know how, you remember something and you remember how you felt at the time?
Uh-huh.
That's what... So all these years, those feelings have been suppressed, pushed back. And now they're coming to the surface.
To the point where you're grinding your teeth so much at night that you're breaking teeth?
That is correct.
Gives you an idea of the level of feeling, right?
Absolutely. And I was kind of like, whoa, where is this coming from? And again, you still continue to push it back, and then it just got progressively worse at that point.
And so what happened? You were driven to the point of considering suicide?
Well, not exactly. After trying to figure this out on my own, whether it was researching on the internet, looking for books, I hit the wall. At this point, I'm juggling the blocks and I'm dropping them. And I finally, by 2005, I was just like, this is it. I have got to take care of this. And so I sought out professional help and started that process, which I thought, okay, here we go. And about a week after the first session that I had gone to, I went and told my best friend, and he was the first male friend that I had told. And his reaction was nothing what I ever thought it would be from the time that I was 12. You always thought that you would just be shunned and you would be this. It wasn't. It was completely, he was understanding. He asked some questions, but basically just pretty much as, I'm here, Okay. I did not realize how devastated I was going to feel afterwards. Now, I started to go see somebody. I told it to a stranger for the very first time. Now I just told this first male friend, and it's all just coming at full force. And at that point, I just thought that life would be a hell of a lot better if I just closed my eyes and never woke up again. And so it was the mindset, sitting there in front of my garage saying, you should just pull that car in and just close the door. And lo and behold, the friend that I ended up telling winds up calling me on the phone at that moment, just to find out, how are you making it?
Fate, huh?
And I thought to myself, okay, I guess it's not as bad or as shameful as I thought it was going to be. And it kind of snapped me out of that mode. Now, I don't know whether I would have ever really done it in the end. You have no idea, and I don't really care to know. Mm-hmm. The point is, I'm here. So...
I want to fast forward you a
Sure.
little bit. So you go through counseling,
mm-hmm.
and you get to the point where you want to confront this guy.
Correct.
You are, feel well enough to have a discussion with him.
I do.
Tell me that story.
Well, I went into counseling with the intent of not facing my abuser, and about 8 months into it, I guess, I got the notion that I was going to do it, wanted to do it. I found him. He was still alive, which was a miracle, because he was about 60 when it happened when I was 12. And at that point, I knew I was going to have to tell my parents. My legal recourse was, on a civil side, was none, but the criminal side I still had a leg to stand on. So you have to file in the township in which it happened. My parents still lived there. And so I decided I was going to go down, file the papers, go to my parents, tell them, be done. And that morning I called his house to find out whether he was there or whether he was at his permanent residence. And I got his son on the phone, and I was pretending to be a telemarketer. And I found out that he had died pretty much 3 or 4 weeks beforehand.
Really?
And I felt like the rug was pulled out from underneath of me. Not really realizing at that point how devastating it actually was. I think the worst part was I had to look up his obituary immediately.
To make sure it was true?
I guess so. But I think more so I wanted to see what was written, and my suspicions were correct. Obviously, I'm not going to write that he died as a child molester, but he was hailed as a war hero. And I thought to myself, my goodness.
Your war.
That's correct. Exactly. And I was like, he got away. He got away. And I could only hope that he was burning in hell. And then I decided that I wasn't going to tell my parents, and then a month later, I ended up telling them.
So you eventually you get to a website, and you're looking for ways to help. There's a website called Male Survivor.
Correct.
That's right. The name of it, right?
That is.
And you learn that there's this weekend retreat.
Correct.
For guys who are in the same situation you are.
Right.
Life-changing?
Very life-changing. And I have to explain to you that after all that had happened, I decided I was going to write a book about it. And a book is very organized. It has chapters. So that's what I do. I finished it October of 2009. And my wife had known most of the details, but she didn't know everything. And I handed it to her and said, here you go. Because I just want to release it. And what I didn't realize was that I felt like every defense mechanism I had ever built since I was 12 years old was gone. And it was a devastating blow. And at that point, I wanted out of my marriage. I wanted out of everything. I just wanted to be left alone. And we tried marriage counseling. It was a disaster because the counselor wanted to treat it like you leave the cap off of the toothpaste. And that is, it was very hard to find somebody, right? Then I had remembered this website. When I had first started counseling, I had seen that website, but I knew that it was very much group therapy, and I was just not ready for that. Found that. They had these weekend of retreats. I said, this is something I have to do. And I went to my wife and said, I have to do this because I don't know what else to do at this point. And in May of 2010, went down to Georgia, and it was a life-changing event. I
got to stop you right there. Okay. And when we come back, we're going to hear about that life-changing event and how that led to being on the Oprah show. Please stay with us.